Hello everyone, 7 Investing CEO Simon Erickson here, and thank you for listening to the 7 Investing Podcast. Our podcast is made possible by our subscribers, who allow us to empower you to invest in your future each and every month. In exchange, we give our subscribers exclusive access to our monthly stock market recommendations from each of our lead advisors. To support this podcast and join other 7 Investing fans in our exclusive Subscribers Forum, where we discuss the latest market moves in real time, go to 7investing.com/subscribe to subscribe to 7 Investing today. We're here to empower you to invest in your future. We are 7 Investing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7 Investing Podcast. My name is JT Street. I'll be your host today, and we are having a very special podcast today as we simulcast live on Twitter for the start of our Summer Stock Challenge. And I'm here today with 7 Investing CEO Simon Erickson. Simon, good to see you, bud. How are you today?
JT, it's fun, man. We're live. We got caffeine. We're doing a live stream. We're going to talk about a couple cool companies. I'm pretty excited. Happy Monday morning.
That's right. And we're going to go through over the next few weeks and break down 7 growth stocks and 7 income stocks in our Summer Stock Challenge. And the reason we're doing this is because as long-term investors here at 7 Investing, we want you to be thinking in that long-term mindset. So the parameters for this challenge are what stock, growth, or income will have the highest combined returns over the next 5 years. If you bought that stock today,
JT, it might just be me, but I think
the next 5 years, out of these 14 stocks, which would be the highest growth? Simon, did you say we lost the feed again?
I've got you back. It timed out just for a second there, JT, but I got you back now.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Fantastic. Hey, we're doing it live, right? So we are going to start with our first one today, and we're going to go through 2 really intriguing growth companies, and that's going to be the Trade Desk versus Rocket Lab. And so I've got our resident stock expert Simon here because nobody wants to know how I do at stocks. And we're going to talk about these. These are real interesting. Now, on its surface, if you were going by the flawed logic of past performance dictates future returns, this is a slam dunk, right? For the Trade Desk. I think the Trade Desk is on its way to being a 10-bagger over the last 5 years. Its 5-year returns were like 700+% or something insane like that. Meanwhile, Rocket Lab doesn't even have 5 years. It SPAC debuted in August of 2021, and since then it's dropped. We'll be generous and say 40%, but we all know that that's actually coming back after a larger drop where I think it started. It's down in it started at the 10s. It's down in the 3s. It was up to the 20s. It's been all over the place. It's a rocket ship without without control at this point. But maybe that changes over the next 5 years, and that's what we're betting on. So Simon, let's start with the Trade Desk. What do you like about this company, other than the fact that it's just been lights out over the last 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely, JT. And pardon me if you don't mind, just to recap a couple of things I think you were saying when the feed cut out just for a moment of what we're doing with this Stock Pictures Challenge this summer. We've kind of framed it growth versus income, because it's been an interesting market. It's been a very volatile market, to say the least, over the last decade or so. We saw this incredible bull run from 2008 to 2021, right? It seemed like you could throw a dart and any growth stock you picked was going to shoot to the moon, right? It was a fantastic time for this bull market we were in. Of course, zero interest rates, money was free. Companies were stepping on the accelerator. It was basically one of the best bull runs the market's seen in recent history. But then 2022 happens, and everyone's starting to say, hey, I'm done with growth stocks. I'm going to put it into these stable, dividend-paying, income kind of companies, or even shorter-term investments, bonds or money market funds are only paying 5%. We said, okay, let's settle this. Let's start putting out some research on how companies are using their profits right now. Are they investing it back in growth, the growth style investments, or are they sharing it out with shareholders through income and dividends? And so that's kind of the frame, is we're going to look this first week into growth stocks, second week into income stocks. Like you mentioned, we're right in the middle of a growth stock one here today. And I believe you were asking in your original question how I feel about the Trade Desk. Like you said, the last 5 years. Oh, and by the way, the 5-year time frame. Come vote on our Twitter at 7 Investing. Twitter.com/7investing to vote Trade Desk versus Rocket Lab. But like you mentioned, JT, Trade Desk has been unstoppable these last 5 years. One of the best growth style investments out there, up 706% total return for the last 5 years. That's incredible. That means you got $706 for every $100 you put in. It's an 8-bagger, which is fantastic. That's one of the best performers in the publicly traded stock universe. And it's not surprising because you've got the lead husky in the digital advertising space, Jeff Green, who's at the helm of the Trade Desk. He said, he was a guy that was doing a lot of buying of advertising media, worked for kind of large ad agencies. If you're working for an ad agency, the most important thing to you is you want to be able to measure everything. You want to be able to see everything about your audience. You want to know everything about the channel. JT, you know this better than anyone because you've worked in media for 2 or 3 decades now. But it's all about, what is the audience? What is the most likely conversion rates? Universal ID 2.0 was created. It's non-proprietary from the Trade Desk. That's now becoming the standard to make anonymous users' information, but still share that through email to whatever channel you want to use. And so Trade Desk now is getting billions of impressions each and every day. It's working with kind of all of these different platforms and different channels. It's integrated with everyone. And it wants to be kind of an open internet experience. So you're not just within Facebook and you can only advertise within Facebook platform. You're not just within Google's properties. You're not just within Roku. You've now got the entire internet as your oyster, where you can measure everything about how people are reading web pages, listening to podcasts, watching video streaming stations. It's kind of the opportunity to use a whole lot of artificial intelligence to digest all of this information from all of those impressions and be truthful and honest with yourself about what is converting the best. And if you're an advertising agency, you put your money where your conversions are the highest. This is a story about innovation and measurement, two of which that the Trade Desk has capitalized on very well during the past 5-10 years.
That's a big oyster. From there, we're going to talk about Rocket Lab, the challenger, I guess we'll say, in this matchup. Rocket Lab debuted a few years ago in a SPAC, and as their name implies, they research and develop and create rockets, and have been doing so with amazing, in my mind, precision and execution over the last 3 years and beyond. When you look at the space, it's really all about performance. We saw earlier this year, for those following the space, what happened when Virgin Orbit kind of fell into the drink, both literally and financially, after their failed launch. So this is not a space where you get to have a lot of wiggle room for poor performance. And Rocket Lab has executed really, really well so far. So why don't you dive into them a little bit and just kind of give an overview for people who aren't familiar with Rocket Lab and that company?
It's really neat. This is kind of a completely new market that didn't even exist until now. It used to be if you wanted to get into outer space, you were only doing it because the government was funding you to do this, right? You had to have a satellite, probably the size of a school bus. You were doing it for the Department of Defense or some kind of research, group that was well funded. It was really expensive to put it up there. There was only a certain amount of open windows for you to even launch in the first place. And it was just really hard to get any satellite into outer space. But then a couple of things have happened. First of all, the miniaturization of satellite components, right? You can now build satellites that are the size of a person, if not a vending machine for a larger mission, right? So it's cheaper, it's less expensive, it's more lightweight to put satellites out into orbit. And we're starting to see what we would call dedicated launch providers, Rocket Lab being one of them, that isn't just, you have to have this spaceport that's super expensive, it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars for a formal mission. Now, for about $7 million, you can put a satellite into orbit exactly where you want and exactly when you want. And a lot of people, are rightfully pointing at Elon Musk as a disruptor of this industry because SpaceX kind of started the commercial space economy. He said, hey, we're going to go out, we're going to put a whole bunch of satellite constellations into orbit. We're going to use it for Starlink because we want to beam high-speed internet to all corners of the Earth. But the trick is, if you want to ride along with our Falcon Heavy rocket, you got to do it on our terms. We're going to go when we're going to go. We can put your satellite on there too. We can put it if you're close by, but we're not going to do this if you're a smaller customer. And Rocket Lab has completely disrupted that model, saying, hey, $7 million, up to 300 kilograms of payload. We'll put it wherever you want to, exactly when you want to. And of course, if you have a business that you could make a business case out of putting a satellite into orbit, maybe you want to do imaging of weather patterns for logistics because you're shipping things across the globe. Maybe you want to look at very minute changes in the oceans because you have off-sea rigs, in infrastructure because you're building important things across the country. Maybe you want to do work for the government where they're wanting you to keep an eye on things from outer space. I mean, things like this, the use cases are starting to come into play. And Rocket Lab is enabling smaller companies to place payloads into space. But the really important thing, JT, is going to be over the next year when Rocket Lab transitions from placing 300 kilogram payloads into space to putting 8,000 kilogram payloads, 8-ton payloads, into space. And all of a sudden, this is unlocking now constellations of satellites. Right now, all of a sudden, you can start offering your own high-speed internet to certain locations and billing by the month like Starlink does. Now, all of a sudden, if one of your satellites goes down, you've got a network, a constellation that can pick up the slack and you can handle the monitoring and the communications for it. And Rocket Lab doesn't just want to place them up there for you. It wants to build them for you as well. It wants to handle the communications, the power, the logistics of moving around up there in outer space, and the ongoing maintenance for them. And all of a sudden, if you don't have to worry about all that stuff, it makes it a lot more economically feasible. If I want to go out in outer space, I want to do something live, I want to do something out there, but I can't afford to handle this, or I don't have the technical know-how of even how to do this, Rocket Lab is enabling the commercial space economy. As you mentioned, this has been thus far an unsuccessful public debut for the company. Back in 2021, it raised $775 million through a SPAC IPO, special purpose acquisition companies. These were a really big deal back in 2020 and 2021, if you remember. They raised a lot of money. They put it onto their balance sheet. And what do they do with it? They just optimize the performance of their rockets, and they went out and they went after larger and larger contracts. And so now Rocket Lab, who started, just kind of these small, picking up really small contracts, kind of getting a spaceport, getting their bearings straight on how to do this, is now landing contracts with NASA, with the Department of Defense, with commercial customers like Hawkeye 360, like Black Sky, like Synspective. And they're coming back and they're winning more and more contracts over time. This is not just a one-time and done. All of a sudden, you've shown your capabilities. You've shown you're a reliable launch partner. You start winning, a couple of different contracts. And all of a sudden, you're launching for the same customers over a 3, 4, 5-year period. And now you've got Neutron, which is going to carry 8-ton capacities up there. I mean, this is kind of an exciting growth story that, it hasn't worked out real well yet. If you look back in the last couple of years as an investment, Rocket Lab is showing a lot of red in terms of investor returns. But you also look at what they're enabling. You look at Morgan Stanley saying this is a $1 trillion industry by 2040. You look at the leadership of Peter Beck, knowing that he's been building rockets since he was 5 years old in New Zealand. And the pieces are kind of coming together that this could be an incredible investment in an industry that's very hard to tackle. It's not easy for any of us to build a rocket launching platform in our basement. There's only a handful of companies that can do this well. And the biggest and most lucrative customer contracts are going to go to Rocket Lab and SpaceX. It's going to be a duopoly in the near future. And we've seen that through the failure of others that have attempted this in the past. I'm really excited about Rocket Lab. It might not look so great right now, at least if you're looking in the rearview mirror, but going forward, this is a really attractive, very lucrative investment, I think.
Yeah, it's you're talking about all the different use cases for the space economy, and what's interesting to me is the use cases where we don't even know what the use case is going to be yet. And I've got one for you, Simon. Here's a use case that I bet you will never guess. Okay. I was talking to a company, and they wanted to put something into space. Take a stab at it. Anything you can think of. What did they put in?
What satellite did they put into space? Or are you talking about they shot a Tesla Roadster up there?
Well, you're actually close. All right. It was a luxury shoe.
Okay.
They shot a luxury shoe into space. Now, I'm not saying that we should invest our investing decisions based on people like adding space junk to the universe. But the idea that we are going to have use cases and people who just space is fascinating. People want to go to space. They want to send things into space, whether they are, really interesting scientific experiments or shoes and cars, which we might want to regulate. But the point is, this is a brand new industry. We don't know what kind of tourism applications, what kind of business applications, what kind of observational applications are going to be coming forth in the next decade or two from the space economy. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how that goes. So as an investor, when you've got two companies, you've got a set dollar amount. You say, you know what, I've got $100 to invest, and I've got the ad space over here with the trade desk, and I've got the space over here with Rocket Lab. What fulcrum am I using to say, this is where I'm going to put my money? And that's what the Summer Stock Challenge that we're doing is all about, because we want to figure out how we can make these great decisions. And Simon, your breakdown of each of these companies is a great sort of qualitative overview of how we can look at companies and say, okay, what do we think the future is going to be like over the next 5 years for this company? Do we rely on previous success, like in the case of the trade desk, where we're seeing that they're already going an 8-bagger over the last 5 years, and we're going to ride that forward, hopefully? Or do we go with something where there hasn't been great performance so far, but there's a lot of potential in Rocket Lab? So if I'm just listening to your pitch as a novice investor, which is very accurate for my investing style, based on what you said, I really love the promise of Rocket Lab, and that would be my vote. Like, I am a space geek. I want to see space stuff happen. I want to unlock this world, right? And Rocket Lab seems like the top performer in the private industry to do that. So that would be where I would be leaning as somebody who just wants to like take the limited amount of funds that I have to invest and put them into things I believe in. I want to see space succeed. I want to see the space economy succeed. I feel like there's so much potential for the human race to be able to use things outside of our planet to help this planet. And so that would be my vote. Do you want to try and put your finger on the scales here and cast your vote?
I'm gonna do it. I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm going to vote. I'm going to also put up the promotion that 7investing.com/growth versus income, right, JT? Versus is VS. Growth versus
growth
income.
VS income is the link. Yep.
Growth VS income, is the link if you want to follow along with this. We're going to post all of these articles. We're writing articles in addition to filming the live streams. We're kind of following along this kind of tournament style. We made it fun. We do it in bracket matchups, but ultimately the goal is, like you said, if you have $100 million questions, if you have $100 million, $100, whatever, 100,000.
Well, let's do 100 million. I like that better.
Where are you putting it? Where are you going to put it? Which stock are you actually going to buy right now, all things considered? And the growth style of this bracket depends on a couple of things, because growth is amazing when it works well and terrible when it works badly. The hype cycle takes companies that are not meant to succeed and takes them to the woodshed. Look at the littered history of the debris that has been left of companies that made a flash in their pan and then they just didn't maintain. They did not sustain as investments or as companies because they got a good start. They had the right trend, but they just couldn't execute the way that they needed to. And both of these are trillion-dollar market opportunities. These are trillion-dollar market opportunities with a T, right? Space economy, trillion-dollar market opportunity. Digital advertising, something like $700 billion, $800 billion globally last year on ad spend, approaching $1 trillion opportunity. I mean, these are big markets, but it has to be good execution. Otherwise, you're a flash in the pan that disappears. And that is why this matchup in particular is so fantastic, because Jeff Green at the trade desk executed so well throughout trade desk history. Peter Beck, Rocket Lab, same thing. Like, you've got the right people at the helm, and you've got businesses that can compound upon themselves and scale. The trade desk gets smarter because it's ingesting more and more information. It's feeding into the deep learning algorithms that it has, and then it's digesting that and giving more and more information for measurement for the ad agencies that it has. That's why 95% of its business is locked up under contracts with large ad agencies. It could open up to the general populace anytime it wants to, but it's got this dependable recurring revenue stream from people that can make the most of what it keeps getting better and better at every single year. Rocket Lab, same thing with capabilities. How hard is it to send a rocket into orbit reliably in outer space? Well, Astrolabs has shown you how hard it is. They failed several times. Virgin Galactic has showed several times. Virgin Orbit has showed several times how hard it is to get a rocket into space. I mean, Rocket Lab is the reliable and dependable partner that there's a reason that NASA and the Department of Defense are working with them, especially on kind of highly classified and proprietary missions. That, you know, when you look at things like the HASTE mission and the responsive space program, I mean, these are the government's most important missions, tracking hypersonic missiles. I mean, they're putting it in the hands of a company that has a market cap of $2.7 billion right now. Very small cap stocks, huge potential. And so, framed with this decision, that's my long-winded intro to how I'm going to answer your question. I think that out of the two of them, I would probably vote Rocket Lab today. You know, even though looking backwards, the trade desk has been the superior investment of the last 5 years, I think we're at a point that's kind of this inflection point for the space economy. I think Rocket Lab's total revenue, which grew by a factor of 3, you know, is up 200% year over year. I think that it's going to be an order of magnitude higher by the end of the decade. I think that revenue in 2030 is going to be 10 times what it is today. I think that Neutron's launch in 2024, maybe early 2025, is the tipping point where we start seeing adjusted EBITDAs turn positive, and Rocket Lab stops being a money sink, where they're putting money into all these R&D programs, where they're looking to make reusable rockets that don't just get used once and then they burn up when they come back, where they start getting larger and larger missions where they built upon the capabilities that they already have, and the fixed infrastructure related to the spaceports that they have and the teams that they have and all of the construction facilities that they have, that starts getting a bang for their buck as the revenues start coming in the door from more and more launches. All of that aligns, the stars align, JT, to use the appropriate metaphor for this one. I would vote for Rocket Lab over the trade desk in this matchup of which of the better stocks would I be buying right here today.
And this is the fun part about investing, because like we say, no one knows your money like you do. No one knows your risk tolerance like you do. If you don't have the, let's call it madness, to put money into a company where one misstep maybe takes your investment to zero, then that may not be the company for you, right? You may want to side more with the trade desk or with an income stock that is more dedicated to less risk and then a guaranteed payout every quarter. So that's part of this too, is these are opportunities for each of our investors and followers to really put their finger on the scale and say, this is something that I believe in, this is where I want to be. And so you can do that right now by going to Twitter, following us at 7investing. We've got the poll going on right now. You know what? Let's hop in right now, kind of a live look in at the poll. And it looks like you and I right now, Simon, are in the minority here, because it looks like we are right now 68% in favor of the trade desk and 31% in favor of Rocket Lab, with a little over 22 hours left to go in the poll here. So plenty of time for us to try and lobby for Rocket Lab on Twitter and social media. But that's the really fun part of this for us, is getting to see what you think. So if you have an opinion, come and share it with us on Twitter at 7investing. We're also on Threads at 7investing, Instagram, Facebook. You can find us there. You can also follow along by joining our free email list, which you can find through links, and you can find it through 7investing.com/growth-income. And we're going to be doing these podcasts daily as we go through our growth matchups this week. Let me run through really briefly just our schedule here. It's a real exciting schedule of what we got. We've got growth versus income. We're going to do growth the first week. We're going to do income the second week. So tomorrow we're going to be here again. We're going to have a really intriguing matchup of NVIDIA versus Snowflake. So that one should be fun. Yeah. Now this on Wednesday it's going to be really interesting, because we're going to do Mercado Libre versus SoFi, and those are two FinTwit darlings. So that's going to be interesting. I'm really going to be interested to see the poll there. And then the marquee matchup, I think, for the week is going to be on Thursday, where we take the winners of the first three matchups and we put them all against the first round buy, the favorite, the behemoth in the room, which is Tesla. And so that's going to be kind of our weeding out of the growth stocks. We're going to take the 3 winners from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We're going to pit them versus Tesla in a 4-stock round robin where or battle royale or whatever you want to call it, right? You get to vote for each one of the 4, whichever one you like out of those 4. And then the winner of that battle royale, stock royale, is going to go and take on whoever comes out of the income side in our final matchup. So that's going to be the week ahead. We hope you'll join us. And we're going to take the podcast that we do each week. We're going to put those out on our podcast, which you can follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or the streaming platform of your choice. You can also follow us on social media and follow along through our free email list. Simon, did I miss anything? My goodness, we've got so many ways to participate in this.
Pretty amazing. We also have a live audience here in the live stream. I wanted to kind of open up the lines. We're doing this impromptu. We are live here. But if anyone listening live would like to ask a question or make a comment about the Trade Desk or Rocket Lab, we wanted to kind of give the opportunity to do that right now. Knowing we are on a live stream, we're going to give that opportunity. Would anyone like to speak about any of the companies here? I had to try, JT. I had to give the opportunity just in case. I mean, the whole point of this is really kind of fun. We're not just cheerleading, we're doing this in a one-way kind of way. Our mission at 7 Investing is to empower investors. We want to provide objective analysis and let everybody make decisions on their own of what's best for them. This is a really fun way to do that. We hope that you follow along with this challenge. Again, 7investing.com/growth-vs-income to follow along. We do email out the competition, the matchup each and every day that we have one, and then we're going to send the results out tomorrow as well, JT. That's 7investing.com/email if you want to get on our email list and follow along with those. And then the last promotion I have to say is for $1, you can get started with 7 Investing and see all of our recommendations, see what's actually behind the curtain. A lot of the companies we are featuring in this competition are active 7 Investing recommendations, though not all of them are. We didn't put all of our recommendations in there. But if you want to kind of get under the hood and see why these companies, why are they good investments, what's our thoughts about valuation, all of these things, check us out, 7investing.com/subscribe. But again, at the end of the day, growth style investing is from this point forward, there's a lot of opportunity. I think the Trade Desk is the safer of these 2 picks. There's a lot that can go wrong when you're launching rockets into space, but what is kind of on that continuum of risk versus reward? You can kind of see and make the case for Rocket Lab being a fantastic investment return. They're executing pretty well so far. Let's see if they can continue that in the future with Neutron here in 2024 next year.
And just to piggyback onto your plug, the level that we got into today with these 2 companies is nothing compared to what the advisors do each month when they go through and make their recommendation reports. And when you're a subscriber, you get access to 7 recommendation reports each month on the first of the month. You also get access to 7 best buys each month, which we drop on our subscriber call. And for those who don't know, that is happening this Thursday. So if you subscribe today, you can get in on that. You can listen to our subscriber call. You get to ask questions to all of our advisors live. You can text them if you don't want to be on air, and you can listen to the recaps of each month's stocks. You get to hear the July stocks. They go through each one, explain why they liked it, company updates on other recommendations that may be in the news, and then our best buys also live. You get to see what stock each advisor would buy right now, which is a lot of fun. So that's this Thursday. If you subscribe today, you will get a link to that too, and you'll get to join us there too. So a lot going on at 7 Investing this month. It's a busy July. It's month number 7. It's our month, Simon. This is it. We're going to do it. That's right. So on behalf of Simon Erickson, on behalf of all of our awesome advisors at 7 Investing, I want to thank everybody for listening today. Please join us as we continue our summer stock challenge throughout the month of July. Thanks for listening, everybody.